Today is November the 17th, 2017. It's about 8:30 in the morning, and I'm sitting in the parking lot of the Shaker Heights Library. Last night I was able to get to a Bedford Heights congregation of Jehovah's Witnesses, and I was able to take my mind off my situation. And I was also able to talk to one person, and he actually gave me $5, which was something that had never happened before. So here's what I'll say to people about being in a situation like this. This is not a problem that just exists just during the winter months. This happens 365 days out of a year. And it's a problem that's growing with poverty and being semi-homeless or homeless, or whether it's because of a natural disaster, whether you're coming from a domestic violence relationship, or circumstances beyond anyone's control, which, as the Bible says, it's called the unforeseen occurrences. Untimely, unforeseen occurrences can happen, and that means that things can happen to people that they don't expect or they don't see that may happen. But I don't understand how it is that every year more and more people are becoming homeless, or becoming in a destitute situation, or they're becoming in a situation because of a disaster, or because of a domestic violence relationship, or because they lost their home, or they lost their income, or something else happened. Unfortunately, whatever the circumstances are, you need to get behind the persons who are employing the persons who run Frontline and the Bishop Cosgrove facility. And that's the only way you're going to be able to get people to understand that this is not supposed to happen to people. There is no reason or excuse on the face of the earth that people should have to be turned away, or they find out that there's overcrowding of shelters for women, for families, or single persons, or even for a drug rehabilitation facility for people who have drug and alcohol problems. This is unacceptable, really, to tell you the truth. You have to make people be held accountable for these things. Elsewise, this problem is not going to go away. In the Bible's end of it will be that the end of it will be when Jehovah God ends poverty and homelessness and all of these problems related to why people are dealing with poverty and homelessness, and why it is that so many of these agencies don't have the answers to why there's a problem with inadequacy of lack of shelters that are safe, boarding and rooming houses that need to be available to people where they don't have to worry about vandalism, crime, and people stealing stuff and doing all this stuff. See, there's multiple problems, and then you have to think about the psychological and mental and emotional problem associated with this here. The mental and psychological toll that it takes on an average person is a range of feelings and emotions that you got to deal with, and that's something that is not being addressed too. And it doesn't mean that you need to go speak to someone in the Murders Taylor building. You may need to speak to someone about these feelings and thoughts that you're having to help you to get through that. You need someone to be able to sit there and listen to you without trying to tell you, oh, well, you need to be put on medications, you need to be put in a hospital. Only if you're having medical and health problems. And, you really have to think about all that, because now what are you seeing when people are being in a hospital or a nursing home or an emergency care situation? They got to worry about if they really are in an emergency crisis with their health, whether it's medical or not, psychological. Nurses and doctors who are supposed to be there to take care of people, to know the needs of people, and then you got to worry about somebody may be calling for help, and they may need some more serious medical health and care, and that's another problem. Seeing things like that, people being neglected. So the problem goes both ways with the psychological, mental, physical, and then actually being able to get someone to understand these problems and say this is what needs to be done. And unfortunately, yes, the bureaucracy is the red tape with the government and who employs the people for Frontline and the Bishop Cosgrove Center and the people who know that somebody needs to start talking to people and get behind the persons and the funds, why these funds are not available for people to get, even if your name's on a waiting list to get on subsidized low-income housing, that's still not acceptable because there's a lot of people on waiting lists just for low-income and subsidized housing, just here in Cuyahoga County of Cleveland, Ohio.